So tens of thousands of people will meet in Scotland this year for a climate change conference called COP26. It happens every year, but was canceled in 2020 because of COVID-19. This year, it's back on. And it's a chance for government heads to ensure they're making progress on addressing the climate crisis.
But that's all I really know.
See, here's the thing. Everyone's talking about this big event and throwing around big terms that have something to do with climate change. But for me, I just really want to know how it all ties together. And what I didn't want was to go through heaps of legalese or long YouTube videos. So before she set off for Glasgow, I asked our climate editor Laurie to give us a rundown of COP26 in 4 minutes.
Can you just give us one more clap?
Laurie, what does COP actually stand for?
It's the Conference of the Parties.
How many people are expected at COP26?
There's about 25,000 expected this year.
And how many world leaders are going?
There's over 120.
How are you getting to COP26?
On the train, of course. The truth is, you can have Zoom meetings for a lot of things, but when you're actually negotiating very tricky things, it's really hard to do it over Zoom. Plus, there's a lot of smaller, less wealthy countries that don't have great internet, and they feel like they'll be excluded if they're not there on the ground. She always thinks that she might not come. She's not always in agreement with the pace of what happens there, but often she does end up coming. Oh boy. Well, there's 3 of them, really. There is agreeing the Paris Rule Book, which includes things like Article 6. There is the $100 billion finance goal to help poor nations develop cleanly and adapt to climate change. And there's the Keep 1.5 Alive goal. We need to try to keep global temperature rise below 1.5 degrees. If we don't achieve that, we're going to see much worse problems, much more severe weather, more sea level rise, even things like more migration and more hunger around the world. I really hope that we do. It's so important for all these countries, both in their trust in this system and to be able to kind of meet these other goals at this meeting, that we get there. So much of what they've committed to do depends on this finance. Basically governs carbon markets. We're going to have buying and selling of carbon credits as people try to reduce emissions, and we need rules for that because right now it's starting to happen in the real world without those rules established. It has to be the 2015 COP, which was when the Paris Agreement was signed. It was so exciting to finally have that deal and to get this ambitious 1.5 degree goal. There was just so much good feeling there. Who's Ellie Goulding?
You know the English singer, songwriter?
Oh, okay. 6 million Twitter followers. That's nice. People like her, they speak to a whole different audience that is going to start thinking about this, we hope, and start engaging with it. The Paris Agreement has a mechanism that says we should keep increasing the ambition on those every few years and making sure that they add up. So that ratchet mechanism is a crucial part of it. It says that the plans can't just be what you start with. We've got to keep working until we make sure they're absolutely going to achieve the goals. Loss and damage is what happens when you try to adapt to these changes that are happening and you can't anymore. If you have whole parts of the country go underwater, no one can adapt to that very easily. Rich countries have created most of the emissions. Poor countries are the ones seeing a lot of the loss and damage. You really, really don't want to know. It's not an endangered animal, actually. It is the conference center where it's going to be held in Glasgow. It's a kind of a white building, and it looks a little bit like an armadillo's shell. It's supposed to be 2 weeks.
Will it end on schedule this time?
It never ends on schedule because there's always so many loose ends to tie up that last night.
And final question, is it still possible to avoid the worst impacts of climate change?
It is, actually. We need to turn all these pledges and all this talk into real action on the ground now, not next month, not next year, not in a decade, now.
We covered a lot today, but if you have any other questions for Laurie about climate change or COP26, drop them in the comments below and we'll get them answered for you. And before you go, Don't forget to hit the like button here and subscribe to TRF's channel here so that you don't miss out on any of our latest content, like this one about America's flood insurance problem.